muscle and how to use it in the saddle has become a very popular term, and I'm sure you've already heard it when your instructor says, use more core, use more core. Well, if you don't know how to engage the core, you don't know how to use the core. If you're not using your core, then your core will not be strong. If you don't know how to engage it on demand, then you're not going to be able to use it on demand in the saddle when the horse starts to increase the paces and you need more stability through your spine. Now, the other misinformation that I am seeing is, or hearing, is people making comments along Facebook on different things saying, I use my core to get the horse to canter. Well, it's how you use your core, because the core is not a muscle that you will use for the aid. It's a muscle that you will use to set up the aid. So if you're looking at a sequence of muscle activity, your core is not going to get your horse to canter. But if you use your core to stabilize your spine and then use your seat and your legs and your hand to apply the canter aid, then yes, you are using your core. Now, the other misinformation I'm seeing or hearing is that people say they don't need their lower legs. Well, in my opinion, they're totally wrong. You cannot ride without your lower leg. Yes, the amount that you apply certainly is different on different people and different horses, and the skill of applying different amount is certainly a trained skill in the rider. And that comes back to what the rider feels and the application of the pressure through the legs in combination with the seat. You cannot use your seat without your legs because the seat needs an anchor. Now, just coming up, just showing you some information about the core muscle. It's called transverse abdominal, and it's called transverse abdominal because it's the deepest muscle layer and it runs transversely. Now, when it contracts, what it does do is and I'll show you this close up, what it does do is it runs around the spine. So it runs from the back here to the front. So from the front part of the spine, which is here, you can see that the muscle only acts on the spine and the ribs and the top of the pelvis. So it does not move any part of our body. What it does do is hold the spine. Now, if the core muscle is not able to hold the spine, what happens when we add in these pelvic movements, which are movements, and we do use these for aids, what happens is the spine will get a wobble up. So instead of being able to apply a pelvic tilt for your transitions, what happens is the whole spine will bend and then the back will collapse and it becomes very jelly-like. So the action of the core muscle is to stabilize the spine so that the movement of the pelvis under control of different muscles in different positions and in different movements can happen. If you want to apply an open hand or look with your head, your eyes, or move your arms, if you're not stable here, what happens is the body follows the arm. And you've seen it all the time. People follow their hand or they follow their feet. So the action of the core muscle solely is to hold the spine still while other muscles move the body. You must understand that in your exercise, and you must understand how to be able to do that to be effective with your riding. So, okay, what we're going to do in this video is take Phoebe for a ride on the mechanical Anki machine. Now, the thing about this machine is that it's not going to shine a leaf or bucket a deer or spin around and tip her off, although we have had some people fall off with this. It's very mechanical. It's a rock and roll ball bearing type thing. This is called an Anki, if you haven't seen one before. So here we go. Turn the button on. There we go. Oh yeah, and she's off. So what we want to do is demonstrate the function of the horse riding muscles on the machine. So as you can see there, Phoebe's got her core engaged, She's got symmetry through her head on her neck. She's got independent isolation of her pelvis from her trunk, because as her pelvis is moving around, her body's not following. She's got her hamstrings, her adductors engaged. She's got some stirrups, so just take your feet out of the stirrups. Now she's got no stirrups, so the tib-ant muscle is coming in, and she's got that triple flexion. So we've got all of these muscles that we discussed in the last video all starting to be active. Now, let your core go. Let your hamstrings go. And you can see, you know, if this was a horse, she'd be probably being tipped off from there by now, because she's wobbling all over the place. She's a bit like a soft piece of rubber. Bring the core in, and immediately, I mean, Phoebe's done a fair bit of work. She has a pattern that comes in. Let the core go again. It's the sloth aid, and you'll hear about this. When you let the core go, the body follows. Now bring the core in and the stomach muscles, and you can see she elongates up. She actually brings her hands into that nice self-carriage. Well done, one we prepared earlier. Now let your hamstrings go, and you can see she loses it all again. Because without the stability of the hamstring to hold that lower leg position, not pushing against the horse, but to stabilise, the body can't stabilise on its own with the core. Let the hamstrings go again. And you can see she just gets a wobble up. And this is on a machine that's very mechanical. Excuse the pun, but it's not going to do anything different. So you can learn how to use it. Bring the core back in. Bring the hamstrings back in. Now, just lean back a little bit, but keep your lower leg there. And you can probably can't see it, but her core is really working hard. Now, and her stomach muscles have taken her back, so it's back bending. We do this exercise in the program. Now let your hamstrings go. Whoa, now the horse would get a gob in the mouth. Okay, put your hamstrings back in, your lower leg back on. Now lean back as far as you can, keeping that there. Now let go of the hamstrings, and she loses it. Okay, so when people say the hamstrings are not an important muscle, they're wrong, okay? Now, if we don't engage the hamstrings, but we've still got the seat, and you bring your lower leg forward, people tend to then push through the toes, as they, particularly at the rise trot, rather than push through the heels at the rise trot. So the action of the rise trot comes through from not only the quads, but also maintaining the hamstrings so that the lower leg doesn't swing when you put weight on it. Just put your hands above your head. Now I want you to tilt your pelvis backwards. That's it. Now forwards. It's a bit hard on the machine. Now backwards again. Now forwards. Okay, it's not working real well, is it, like that? Lean your body backwards. Now bring your body forward. Okay, lean your body backwards. So a lot of stomach muscle work there. Again, that's, it's a mechanical machine. We can't change it. We can ramp it up a little bit and get you backed off. So that's just a quick demonstration of how the horse riding muscles function on a machine, which is not exactly the same as in the saddle, but it's a good little demonstration. So I hope that's been useful. Now that you understand a little bit about the anatomy and the function of the muscles, I want to introduce early in the program, and that's now the core crunch. Now the main feature of this whole program and your riding skill comes back to your core. Now, as you know, the core runs transversely around the body, and it is the chief stabiliser of the spine. Therefore, it's the chief stabiliser for the whole body. So I've introduced the core crunch very early because what I want you to do is start to practice this every day, every hour, so that you are starting to train your brain, to train your core to start to function. After we get it to engage, we then test it, and then we'll start to strengthen it, and then we'll start to use it. So very early, I want you to start learning how and practicing how you're going to use your core. So I want you to read through page 33 to 41, and I've given you 6 different positions to train in. Now the reason I've given you 6 is because you need to learn to engage your core in any position. So we've got a base 6. Once you can do that, you can start to train your core in any position. Now the instructions are very explicit and I want you to follow them to the letter. You're going to set yourself up, I'll show you the one on the ball first. You're going to set yourself up with your legs spread, your body upright, not hunched or slouched. You're going to have equal distribution between your feet and your seat bones. What you're going to do is blow. You're not going to suck. So when you blow, you're going to just blow a long, slow, controlled breath, and as you blow, you're going to draw your belly button in towards your spine. Now we know the transverse abdominal muscle goes around, so when a muscle shortens, it brings 2 points together. So my elbow shortens, it will bring my hand closer to my shoulder. When our core contracts and becomes shorter, the circle around our waist becomes smaller. So what you're going to feel is your waistline will come in, your belly will go from being a bit bulgy to a bit flat, and you'll feel a little bit of tightness through your low back. So the instructions in each position are very explicit and they are exactly the same. So I'll just show you. You're going to blow and draw. So here we go. I let my belly go. And as you can see, I run out of breath. My stomach comes in quite small. When I let go of my core, and I can let my belly flop out again. So I'll just show you, I'll be brave, show you with my top up. A little bit of afterbirth, but never mind. All right, let my belly flop. I'm going to blow. Let it go again. Just get my breath a little bit so I'm not going to pass out. Let it go. And let it go again. I'll show you side on. Not a pretty picture, but never mind. After 3 kids, not a bad effort. Okay, I'll just put my hand up there so that you can see. I'm going to let my belly go again. Upright, same position, let it go. I'm going to blow. Let it go. Okay, so that's the core crunch on the ball. Now be brave and show you in this position here. And as you can see there, I've got my core tight. Let it go. And I'm just going to go through the same instructions. Let it go. Okay, so that's the core crunch in just those 2 positions. Now I want you to be very clear on how you're doing this. You're not going to suck, because all you're going to do then is pull your ribs up underneath, your belly up underneath your ribs, and you're going to elevate your shoulder blades. If that's how you train your core, that's how you're going to use it. And as you can see, that's not very functional. If you practice the core crunch with the breathing pattern, what you're going to do is train your brain to engage your core in coordination with your breath. Now, as you become more and more efficient and your core becomes more connected to your brain and not your breathing, you'll be able to core crunch and talk all day. You'll be able to core crunch in any position because it's the function of the core that we're training, not just with the breath. Because there's no point being able to ride around on your horse. You have to be able to bring your core in. So the core crunch in those 6 positions, I want you to practice the positions, practice the movement pattern, and get it exactly right. Very many people learn in different ways. This is how I teach, and I've had very good success with it. So the core crunch is not an abdominal crunch. It is purely and simply isolating the core to get it to tighten and get it to relax in coordination with your breathing. As we move through the program, you're going to use the core crunch over and over and over again. You're going to use it for strength training, and you're going to use it for stabilization, and you're going to use it for function in the saddle. So review page 33 to 41, review the little video I've just given you, and make sure that you practice often. Spend 10, 20, 30 seconds, set yourself up, 3 or 4 core crunches, often, get it right, get it perfect, and then we'll start getting into the nitty-gritty of the program, and you'll understand why this sequence is been put together like that. So we'll see you in the next video. Horse riders need to learn to push their weight out of the saddle through their heel, not through their toe as we do in walking. So the angle of the ankle does not change, or should not change. The angle of the knee and the angle of the hip will increase as the weight goes out of the saddle and into the heel. And this is a learned skill that riders do need to learn. It's a movement pattern. When we add in movement, as in the rise trot, you can see now this rider is pushing through her toes to push her weight out of the saddle. So she's rising vertically, and this leaves her lower leg unstable. Another one of the specific rider movement patterns is your movement through your pelvis. It must be able to tilt forwards and backwards, side to side, and have a rotational component as well. And this movement must be independent of your trunk and of your thigh. This allows you to swing your back as the horse swings their back, so that you don't block the movement of the swinging back of the horse, so that you can ride with your horse with much more stability and comfort. When a rider balances on the reins, they not only block their own pelvis, they will block the swinging movement of the horse's back. So this needs to be addressed. A very simple way to train the lower leg for stability is to go into 2-point or light seat, fix the hands at the neck strap at the neck, and have the rider hover so all the weight goes through the heels. And if you practice this position in different paces, you'll start to realize how much movement you do have and how much stability you require to do the movements.